Yo, Khalil Mack is playing
Sports
football.
reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes. You heard Mr. Logical. Khalil Mack is playing tonight. You are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. And it's Friday. Well, I guess it's Thursday, but you're going to get this on Friday. So you know what that means? Picks, and more picks. And then, oh, by the way, I got my contact lenses in so I could see Mr. Logical's picks from over here. Chauncey Billups style. So tonight, we're going to go over some NFL picks. It's week 8. The season goes way too fast. Week 9 of college football. And then, of course, this NBA gambling situation. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Liquid death in hand. And if not, get yourself some hydration. So, Mr. Logical, let's get right into it. The scene, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Soap opera. You drafted this dude with me here? I'm going to win me some MVPs. Yeah, but we ain't going to the Super Bowl. I'm your best chance. You're out of here. Ain't no love in the heart of the city. We got Green Bay going up to the Steel City. What you thinking?
I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers is still one of the moodiest quarterbacks ever. Like his mood and his the way he reacts to his teammates and his coaches over the last couple of years have been more.
I feel like you're calling him the B word.
It's just stressful. It's just stressful, to say the least. I like Pittsburgh. I've always, I'm a big Tomlin guy. I just don't know if you can consistently just bank on the play calling and the play design of Pittsburgh. I think Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur are gonna really, take shots at the Steelers defense because a lot of the Steelers' allure is a lot like the Ravens. Well, the expectation is to be physical. The expectation is to have this tough defense, but they have holes, and it's probably going to be exploited in the passing game. So, and then with the AFC North being so tough, I think just kind of locking into these tough, out of conference games, and then have to lock back in the AFC North games. I think it just gives Pittsburgh fits. So I like Green Bay in this one. I could be wrong, but like I said, once again, when it boils down to play calling and playmaking, Rodgers isn't known to be a guy that can, doesn't do the comeback. So Jordan Love and Green Bay can get on top. A couple scores, 10 points, take a lead into the fourth quarter, and pretty much have it locked up. But I think that's what's going to happen.
So there are rumors on the street that Green Bay may be getting Christian Watson back for this game. And if so, that's going to be such a boost for their offense. Give Jordan Love that deep threat that you're talking about, that guy that can get you the yak, because, you got Matthew Golden already, but he's still trying to find his way in the offense. So if you have Christian Watson on the field as well, that might free him up a little bit because the defense has to pay so much attention to Watson. Green Bay still has injured linemen. Their run game hasn't been impressive this year, probably due to that. And Josh Jacobs has been battling some stuff throughout the season as well. The Steelers have had 10 days to stew after what happened on Thursday Night Football last week. Listening to Mike Tomlin give Denzel Washington like speeches, on the practice field. I think that they're going to come out, especially like I said, with the offensive line injuries. I think Pittsburgh's defense might play one of their better games of the season. The problem is that I want to pick Green Bay to win this game. But when I peel it all back, just going off of what we've seen so far this season, I feel as though Pittsburgh's offense might be the best unit in this game, because Green Bay's defense is pretty good, but I just saw Jacoby Brissett throw all over the yard. I got concerns about the secondary, and you got to chase that monster called DK Metcalf. So I think Aaron Rodgers.
But that's literally the only person you have to chase because Arthur Smith lacks creativity. It's the only time plays for him. Everything else is like Frymuth is there, Jalen Warren. Like they have other playmakers.
So I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to turn back the clock.
They don't want to be a serious offensive team.
I think this is going to be the game where we look at Aaron Rodgers and we go, "That's the Aaron Rodgers I remember." So I think he's going to be motivated. Hopefully Jordan Love is motivated, because Aaron Rodgers, he was on the opposite side of Aaron Rodgers' fury of that draft pick. So you would like to think that LaFleur is going to call his best game, but it feels like his play calling has been a little off this season. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to pick the Steelers to win a high-scoring game.
All right. I'll take Green Bay. Like I said, I just feel like, I think the whole revenge factor, I imagine Aaron is probably downplaying it all week. And I think that just doesn't seem authentic. Like, just say, like, yeah, I want to get this payback.
To be honest with you, this is probably one of those games where I would just pick the home team. Like wherever the game is, that would probably be the team that I pick because I think that Green Bay is the better team. I honestly do. But I just think that, like I said, coming off that loss to Cincinnati where, Jamar Chase basically picked his number, like I can't imagine the Steelers, even though their defense isn't vintage Steelers, I can't imagine it coming out and looking like that, like right off top. Like maybe Green Bay exposes them as the game goes on, but I expect Pittsburgh to come out early, ready to play. So we'll see. So then...
Who was that? Oh, real quick. Who was that corner you had at Washington? And you were like, I can't wait to get rid of him. St. Juice.
Yeah, Benjamin St. Juice.
Yeah, he just cost the Chargers a turnover on downs on a fourth down where Carson Wentz once again got sacked. No awareness. It's fourth down, dog. You got to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
It's 4th and goal from I think they were like at the 8. Like, you have to throw the ball. Like, you have to get it out of your hand. You cannot take a sack. Took a sack, but he got a legal contact.
And look how the Chargers look with Joe Alt back. Like
it could just be a Minnesota thing.
It could be, but over in the part of the country where I should be, Denver, Colorado, the Dallas Cowboys are coming in. I think this might be the game of the week. To be honest with you, I think this might be the game of the week. I'm looking forward to the corners and the wide receiver matchup. But let me ask you a question. And it might sound like a dumb question, but I'm just, curious about your response. If you're Denver, who do you put Surtain on?
CD.
Okay, why?
You put him on CD because that's the matchup. That's the star. That's the number one wide receiver, number one corner. And then you let the defense, do what they got to do on the other side with Pickens. You don't want to have Riley Moss one-on-one with Pickens a lot. But I'd rather put 2 guys on Pickens and then put my best guy on CeeDee Lamb. I know we talk about Belichick. Belichick used to put his best guy on the second guy. But I think for the bravado, because Surtain isn't going to want to match up with the second guy, even though it's Pickens, who's naturally a number one wide receiver.
And who's been having a great season so far.
He's one of Dak's favorite targets. But I like the matchup with CD. I like the matchup with CD and the double on Pickens.
So let's say that Pickens is having one of those games anyway. Do you switch at any point?
I don't think you switch because that would let Dallas know you're not confident in what you're doing, which I think will then make them. That's when they pull out the flea flicker. Like that's when I think they're going to do some extra because like a lot of football, when we talk about it, like the player size, speed, experience, it's pretty much dead even across the board. Yeah, you might
Yeah.
have some quarterbacks that have more experience, but the defense might have some rookies. Another team might have a lot of vets, but for the most part, it's who can be mentally prepared to make the plays that you need to win versus the teams who consistently put themselves behind the eight ball. We talk about Carson Wentz, we talk about the Jets. So if you are moving corners around and you switching up who you doubling, that gives Schottenheimer uh, a advantage over Vance Joseph. You don't want that. You want to keep it locked in and say, go make plays, mano a mano. You're our best guy. That's their best guy. Let's rock and roll.
All right, so last question, and this is just something I'm thinking about as we're having this conversation. If you're a coach like Sean Payton and you're going up against a quarterback like Dak, being that, I know you have a defensive coordinator, a good defensive coordinator and everything, but you're the offensive guru. Do you think that a coach like that is still equipped to help stop Dak?
See, I don't know what Sean Payton, like I'm gonna be, I'm not gonna just shit on him all the time like I normally do. I don't really think he can impact Dak. I think Dak's playing at a level where I think he knows everything that's going on. There was a lot of doubt in the offseason about the running game and they hired the right coach. Is this gonna work out? Is Dak too expensive? Because that's $60 million a year, no Super Bowl appearance. That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure. But he's playing like he's worth that 60 million. Now the team record is very weird for how well he's playing. But yeah, I don't think Sean Payton can really impact that. And if he's smart and he doesn't micromanage the defense, just let him call the defense. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl when Shanahan kept micromanaging the defense and calling timeouts and getting pissed off and being visibly upset with, Steve Wilkes play calling. And then, end up eventually getting him fired. So I say stay out of the way. You built your game plan. You got it figured out. Ride or die with it. You have holes that you're going to be able to exploit on Dallas offensively.
Yeah, so
you just had a very, very good game last week. Very emotional game. Just ride that wave and you'll be fine. And see who has the ball last and can make the play.
So luckily, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for us, we might be marked safe from watching Donovan Wilson. It sounds like Diggs is going to go, or at least give it a try. So when I look at this game, Denver's offense has been so inconsistent this year, from the standpoint, we talk about it every week. Bo Nix missing receivers, the running game hasn't been what I need it to be, to like look at Denver the way that people were hyping them coming into the season. So I think their best chance here is to get out in space, Marvin Mims, get people out on the perimeter and have Dallas try to corral him at times and miss a lot of tackles. Dallas, even though Denver has this good defense, I think Dallas is just playing at their offense is just playing at another level right now. So I'm gonna go with Dallas to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm taking Dallas as well because we talk about good defense beats good offense, but great offense beats great defense. Because there's going to be spots like guys are going to be open. It's just a matter of do you have the guy who's going to pull the trigger, accurate passes. Dak right now, I think he's like probably top in touchdown interception ratio. I believe he's top 5 in passer rating, top 4 in completion percentage. So it's like Dak's really feeling it. And like I said, Bo Nix is still kind of up and down. It's not a sophomore slump, but it's just a learning curve. He's only
I just think it's a we got tape on you situation. Like we always talk about this, how guys come in, they have a little success early, and then it's like, oh, hey, we got the blueprint now. Because I never thought Bo Nix was going to be a great quarterback anyway. I wasn't big on him coming out of that draft. And I think we're starting to see some of the reasons why I felt that way. Like
he's a playmaker.
Yes.
That plays quarterback and not a
Yes.
quarterback that makes plays from the quarterback position.
He reminds me a lot.
It's a weird, like, it's weird in that sense, but it's like when in crunch time, for some reason, the Giants didn't have a spy on them multiple times in like those last few drives when they were run up to 33 points in one quarter. Whereas he doesn't really make all the throws, but then he make the one throw to get them in the pretty much in the field goal range when the Giants dropped 8. So it's like he definitely has the pieces and the tools, but as far as like when it comes to crunch time, I think he just relies on his playmaking ability, which a lot of quarterbacks don't have. We talk about that all the time.
He reminds me of when I think of Bo Nix, I think of what Baker Mayfield critics think he was. Like he doesn't necessarily always make the big play, but he's the guy that you don't necessarily want to have the ball in the last minute of the game because he will make a play. It might be a play for the defense, but he's going to make a play.
Some quarterbacks like Kyler Murray was like that. Kyler Murray could, the game could be, they could be down 20-6 most of the game. And then last couple of drives when it's like, okay, go time. Then he gets you back-to-back touchdowns or back-to-back drives.
Yeah, it's just like that.
It's just a weird thing where it's like, okay, the structure is good. I understand you have all the tools to manage the structure. Here's the check down. Here's the number one read. Here's the second read. Get out of here. This is this, blah, blah, blah. This guy's hot, whatever. All the stuff you all know. But it's like, all right, we're down 16 points. We got to get 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. Go. And he'll get you those 16 points.
Right. So yeah, but yeah, I'm going with Dallas, unfortunately, but it is what it is. All right, so over in the city of brotherly love, you got the G-men coming through. A couple of weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, they pulled Philly's pants down and spanked them with the paddle. So now Philadelphia coming off this great win against Minnesota where Jalen Hurts reminded everybody, I can throw the ball if they let me. You got the Giants coming in.
Yeah, he only threw it 28 times, though. That's smart.
Does Philly get their revenge?
Spanking them. They're going to whip their ass.
Covering the 7.5?
Yeah, they're going to whip their ass.
Oh, okay.
They're going to whip Giants' ass, yeah.
Just that simple, huh?
Yeah, because I think this is a thing for me, and like I talked about this with certain teams can lose a game, and then you watch the game. You see the players, you see the coaches, and they're going to shake this off, take some pieces from this game, whether things were right, things were wrong, where we can improve, and go into the next week and be just fine. Kansas City can do that. Tampa Bay has the ability to do that recently. Philly's a team that generally does that. Teams that don't lose 2 games in a row, or they don't lose both games in division. Buffalo, like recently. So it's like, Philly's one of those teams where we could just bounce right back. Saquon was frustrated at the end of the last game because even when they were trying to run the clock out, he couldn't get any space, and you could tell he's pretty frustrated. But with the Giants that lost to Dallas, where it was a very exciting football game, it was stuff to build on in that game. But they were so ready to get rid of Russell Wilson that they couldn't see how good of a game it actually was. Because Russ threw that ill-timed interception. I felt that same way at the end of the game last week against Denver. When the extra point got missed, I knew they were going to let Denver in the field goal range because their coach doesn't know how to shake it off. He doesn't, like when Jackson Dart goes in the tent for whatever reason, instead of just calmly going over to Russ, like, listen, we're going to run this quick screen. I mean, the read, blah, blah, blah. Get the screen out here in space. We'll get the first down. If he's not at a tent, we'll go up tempo, whatever. Just shift gears and go on to the next thing. He over at the tent yelling at the doctors because Russ throws an incomplete pass.
And they got his jaw slipping away.
And he was like, so like, that's what I'm saying. So I think he's going to be more in a position of where he's going to panic because you can win a game 32-30 if you don't drop 8 guys in the coverage on the first down. You come after them on first down. They had no timeouts. Maybe you force a sack. Maybe you force a quick throw where they get tackled in bounds, something like that. You don't give him time. But because they were so panicked about losing, they do the thing that
Especially a
losers do,
young
play
quarterback
prevent.
too. Like it's not like you were playing against an Aaron Rodgers or a
I
Patrick
would have done it to
Mahomes.
anybody.
No, I know, but I'm just
Other
saying.
than
I'm just
maybe
saying,
Peyton
especially
Manning.
a Bo Nix. No, I'm just saying, especially a
Yeah.
young dude. Like make him think, make him, get in his head a little bit because, like we said, Bo Nix makes plays, but with that comes the mistake. So you want to do
Yeah.
that to a guy like him. So
Yeah, I would
but
have
yeah,
said
so
5 guys. But yeah, I think the Giants don't let the water run off their back and go on to the next problem and solution situation. They let stuff linger, and I think, and on top of the fact that they don't have all the weapons, they have injuries, and they have problems defensively. Like they have actual tangible problem. Like their cornerback position isn't very deep. They're a younger team. They're relying heavily on a couple of rookies and a guy who feels pressure to keep his job. So yeah, Philly's going to be the brakes off the Giants.
yeah, so the Giants haven't won in Philly since 2013. A lot of those games were double digits, but Brian Daboll usually loses close games in Philly. Philly this year, in their 5 wins, have won by average of 5.2. So I think last week was the awakening, if you will. Because sometimes it's just like basketball. We talk about, hey, you know what? Just get them a layup, get them to the free throw line, let them see the ball go through the basket. I think Philly just needed A.J. Brown to touch the ball. They needed Devontae to get loose on a deep route.
They need to do
And
that earlier. Like,
yeah,
I think they're gonna win, but the play caller needs to get AJ Brown the ball early. You could give the ball to Saquon any down you want because he's literally right
keep him
behind Jalen.
engaged.
Or right,
You got to keep him
you can
engaged.
give it to him, but you can't always guarantee you're gonna get the ball to AJ Brown late in the game. Get it to him quick. Little smoke
Then
screen.
also,
Get the ball in his hand. Let him run somebody over.
they didn't have Jalen Carter in that first matchup. And, I believe, if I remember correctly, Quinyon Mitchell went down pretty early in that game. So, they have both of those things back. So I think the Giants will keep it close for a half. And then I think Philly pulls away, in the second half. So then, you got other games going on in week 8, 6 teams on a bye week. So not many to go off of. But Mr. Logical, we got the 49ers coming across the way to play the Houston Texans. And of course, you know me, I'm in love with this matchup. D'Amico Ryans going up against Kyle Shanahan, his former boss and everything. They kind of know each other, a little chess game maybe going on. But of course, it sounds like Mac Jones is going to start again. So what do we see?
I'm seeing they got a guy that they're paying $50 million to who's gonna lose his job to a dude on his third team. It's just weird. Like I don't think San Francisco is like that formidable of an opponent. No, he's not gonna lose his job. Obviously, there's the money's involved.
That ain't why.
It's just money. Like if it was no money involved, and he was injured, and he's undersized, and you see what's happening with Tua with his check, I'm pretty sure
Mac
they would
Jones is not
reconsider
a
it. Like,
better quarterback than Brock Purdy.
listen, I'm saying that the money makes it a finality. But I think that if he wasn't already paid, I don't think he would be getting the deal he got this all season with the way the season is going now. But maybe they're holding him out because they paid him all this money. Christian McCaffrey is still the Swiss Army knife. He could do anything on the field. The lack of healthy defenders, all pro between guys who left, guys who are getting injured, I think that's going to hurt San Francisco. I thought Atlanta would take advantage of that and maybe do some stuff across the middle a little bit more. I think the Houston offense isn't great. They still can't seem to figure out how to, keep CJ Stroud upright up front. But they have more diversity in their offense. It's more like nuance to it. So I think they'll take advantage of the backup linebacker who has to now cover your tight end in space, or he has to follow the drag route across the middle. Whereas like I said, I don't think Atlanta took advantage of that because Fred Warner can handle all that. He could pass that off. He could still come down and make the tackle. He could see the play action. Like, he can communicate to all those guys. But when you put a backup in there, you have to test this guy's communication skills because it's not going to be on par with the all-pro guy who dislocated his ankle. I think Houston will take advantage of that more than Atlanta did. I think that's going to lead them to victory.
So I was going to pick Houston initially, but then I thought about it. Nico Collins with the concussion, Christian Kirk isn't practicing. Houston already can't run the ball. So you're going to be stuck with CJ Stroud trying to throw the ball to rookie receivers with that offensive line that we're talking about. So I think San Francisco can make enough plays where Mac Jones, he does have a propensity at times to put the ball in danger. And you figure, they're coming off of Sunday Night Football.
Houston's a top-ranked defense, too.
Houston's a top-ranked defense. I got them on my fantasy team, but I think this might be one of those. I brought it up at the start of this conversation, the master and the pupil.
Yeah.
So I'm going to roll with the master on this one. I'm going to go with Shanahan and call the 49ers with a win. So guess who's back, Mr. Logical? The Red Rifle.
Snoop Dogg.
The Red Rifle is back.
That's a loss.
They got Buffalo coming in. Buffalo off the bye, 2-game losing streak. Buffalo can't stop the run. I think Carolina has a shot here.
Yeah, until Andy Dalton has to throw it. That's where your problems lie.
Well, here you go. I'm gonna back you up real quick. So when Andy Dalton starts for the Carolina Panthers, they are 1-5, and they've lost all 5 of those games by 10 or more points.
And he's probably thrown the ball 40 to 42 times in each one of those games.
And also for Buffalo, you got Matt Milano not practicing. Dalton Kincaid still not practicing. But in good news, the guy that I've been waiting to see all season, Maxwell Hairston, might get his first start. He hurt himself during training camp, so he didn't even get to play preseason or anything. I don't know if you put him up, in this matchup per se, but yeah, I got Buffalo pretty easily here.
Yeah. I mean, they have young wide receivers in Carolina. Andy Dalton. Rico Dotto's definitely out here proving that, proving that Dallas probably should have held on to him or utilized him more while he was there. But yeah, so yeah, I got Buffalo big. Superman gonna put his cape on. Orchard Parker's gonna be jumping.
Well, here's another one of those guess those spreads moment, Mr. Logical.
Let's hear it.
Got the New Jersey Jetropolitans going over to Cincinnati. Sounds like Tyrod Taylor is the starter. What's that line?
Cincinnati 8.5.
6.5. Which is, it confuses me because as I look at this matchup, right, Sauce Gardner in concussion protocol, and you got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, ready to rock and roll. A guy that, Jake Browning ain't in there no more, so we got a guy that's going to let it fly. But
Flacco gets a little Christmassy with these balls too. Like he's handing them out to like.
But I don't know if the Jets has anybody that can take advantage of it. Like I like Javaris Brownlee.
Jets only gave up 26 points in the last 2 weeks.
I like Javaris Brownlee. He came over from Tennessee a couple of weeks ago in a trade. Part of that is because he started at Florida State, but I like him. But I'm waiting for him to step up. I just don't know what to expect out of Aaron Glenn anymore because, last week he was talking to the, in the press conference and they were asking him if he was going to bench Justin Fields. And he's like, he just had a bad game. You don't ask a question like that. Like, I'm not going to bench a guy that has a bad game. And then like here we are, like you know what I mean? Like not even a game later.
Well, this is the thing. Reality has to set in. You haven't won any games. And in a few games he's put up numbers. But the games where he's been bad, it's been so bad by any metrics, it doesn't make any sense.
Oh, like
Like
I'm
he had a
pretty
couple of
sure
games.
that
He had a game where he went 3 for 11. He had another game where he completed
45
9 passes
yards, yeah.
and got not sacked 9 times. Then it just like then you
Well, I'm
just
pretty
see the
sure Bill
games.
Polian somewhere is thinking that Justin Fields need to suit up at receiver.
I mean, listen, I don't know how many more. I think his athleticism will get him a shot somewhere else. I don't know if it's a starting quarterback. I think it might be like more of a gadget quarterback. He might be in that same space with Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance's problem was that he looked very athletic at North Dakota State and it never translated to NFL. Whereas Justin Fields, that athleticism that you saw at Georgia and Ohio State has translated. So, like, you can get this idea that if I get him in our system, like for instance, if Shanahan was like really looking for the big mobile quarterback, I don't know why he didn't go after Justin Fields in that draft. I don't know why he went for Trey Lance because I was saying it all the time. Like, if you want the big physical running quarterback that can also throw, Justin Fields is right there. So I think in a situation, say like if they needed a team or a guy who coaches like that, has that from his coaching tree, who likes to get the quarterback on the edge and the quarterback move in and then, the run and shoot kind of style, the West Coast offense style, then you can kind of sell yourself on, like, I think Justin could be the guy. This year, definitely, I don't think you can sell it. You can't
Well,
sell it going forward.
using your philosophy of don't change the offense when you're going to the backup quarterback, he might need to just go play behind Cam Ward at this point. But I'm going with the Bengals,
Shit, realistically, he might fit well as a backup in Baltimore.
he could. But I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I might take the Jets to cover, but just because I don't trust Cincinnati's defense either. But I'm gonna go with the
Yeah,
Bengals to win.
Terod doesn't really. He doesn't stress the defense. I think he'll go something like 17 for 23, 165 yards. He might get a little touchdown off of a Flacco turnover, but I don't think he's not gonna exploit the Cincinnati defensive weaknesses. Whereas the Jets are just gonna have to deal with the fact that they got to guard T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And Flacco said in the post game interview, he was like, really, it's pretty easy. And I felt like it was like a shot at Jake Browning, but it was like you just literally came in and took this guy's job. And Joe Flacco said, I mean, when you got guys like that on the outside, you just got to just do your job and get the ball to them. It's pretty easy to do.
Well, there you
He said
have
it in
it.
the post game interview after the game last week.
That's such
So
sage advice. So I got a team here, 3-game winning streak. All of them on the road. They're coming back home. Look across the field. On one side, they see Myles Garrett and they go, ooh, okay, we got to plan for this. We got to figure out, know where he is at all times. On the other side of the field, they see Dylan Gabriel and they go, oh, the ball ain't going no more than 3 yards anyway. So tell me why the Browns could beat the Patriots.
you want me to lie to you on Soldier Boy's internet?
No, I just want you to analyze.
All right, if I had to analyze, this is the only way for me to truly believe that Dylan Gabriel and the Cleveland Browns could beat the Patriots is if they literally run drag routes where he's rolling left or right out of the pocket, getting the ball in the flats, like flood concepts to the left, flood to the right, and then occasionally taking a deep shot. But if they sit back there and he's throwing the ball 34 times, 40 times, and he's throwing the ball across the middle and he's trying to read this and read here and look through the offensive linemen's heads and shoulder pads, get passes off. If that's your plan, it will not work. But if you figure out, like, I'm gonna run him, run him on, get him on the edge and give him easy passes, okay, yeah, then I think you do that. I don't know if
Would you
Stefanski
take
understands that you need to do that.
would you take Dylan Gabriel over Carson Wentz?
No. If I was
I'm gonna find
Cleveland,
a quarterback for you to say yes. I'm gonna find somebody.
I just like I said, it just at the size, there's no playmaking ability. Arm talent is mid. It's like I I don't know what Kevin Stefanski sees in him to the point where he has him starting right now, or the fact that they were willing to trade Joe Flacco to Cincinnati. I'm not seeing what the organization sees in this guy other than let's just put him out there until Deshaun comes back. Hopefully, get a good draft pick. Let's not push the door out there because if we hold on to him long enough and then we hype him up at the end of the year, we could trade him to somebody else and build.
So the Browns have lost 11 straight road games. This season alone, they've played 3 road games. The closest loss was 14. The other 2 were about 24 apiece. So I think the Browns have an avenue in this game because Ramondre Stevenson has for whatever reason, he likes to choke up the ball. So could Cleveland get a short field or two? I think the Patriots win, but that's the path, is that he has to have one of those games like they had against Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago where they had 5 turnovers. That's the only way. Like I
Yeah,
don't see Cleveland just coming in because Cleveland does run the ball well
the
enough to be
defense
balanced.
knows if the offense is not moving the ball, it's only so long that you can go out there, especially if you get back to back 3-and-outs, or New England goes on, one of those patented 10, 11 play drives, gets a touchdown or a field goal, defense comes off the field. They sense Stefanski sends the offense back out there to get a 3-and-out. Defense has to go back out. Like, it just, I don't see the sustainability of the Dylan Gabriel offense
And I
matches
mean,
Kevin Stefanski, which is supposed to help. Let's go one hand watch the other. Like, you got to help the defense out by staying on the field, maintaining drives, sustaining drives, getting points. I don't know if you can consistently do that with one of the better teams in the AFC.
and don't look now, but Drake May and Kayshawn, what I'm saying, they got that chemistry going on. So, Mr. Logical, I've been reading all these reports. I don't know if Lamar Jackson is playing this weekend, but Vegas is telling me that Lamar Jackson is playing this weekend. Why? 6.5-point favorites over the Chicago Bears, which doesn't make sense if Lamar's not playing.
It doesn't make sense if Lamar is playing.
Oh, I think it does.
I don't think it does.
I think the
I don't
season.
think it does at all.
Well, I think the season is on the line, and when you look at the division right now, right?
But that defense has to go on the field.
No, I know, but we've been talking about Pittsburgh, right? And how they're so up and down. We don't trust a lot of things going on in Pittsburgh.
Baltimore's just down now. There's
I
no
know,
up.
I know.
It's been down all year.
I
We
know.
thought it was like a freak thing when Buffalo came back, but they've been giving up 30 burgers every week.
I know, but
Except the game they played in
I think when
Cleveland.
you look across the division, at the very least, when you look across the division, you see Pittsburgh that you haven't played yet, and you go, "Oh yeah, we could score on them." You look at Cleveland; they can't score on us. You look at Cincinnati; we can score on them, and they don't have Joe Burrow.
I
So
don't think a single defensive player in that locker room is thinking no one can score on them because they've been getting their ass mollywopped every single week.
Dylan Gabriel putting up 30 on the Ravens. Oh, would you take Dylan Gabriel over? Would you take Dylan Gabriel over Huntley?
I mean, Huntley been to a Pro Bowl and he went to Utah. So no. But the thing with the Ravens, I saw on this podcast. Like I said, I need to start remembering this stuff. I want to give these guys credit. But this guy was saying that he thought that Baltimore still could win the AFC North.
They can.
So then these guys sat down, ran down the schedule, but they're 1-5. He had them 10-7. So that means a team that's 1-5, that their star running back who never fumbles has fumbled in crucial moments multiple games this year, all leading to losses. Their quarterback, who's been pretty durable the past couple of years, got injured in a game where they were getting mollywopped already. It wasn't like he went out the game and then Kansas City ran off. They were getting manhandled that game. The defense hasn't stopped traffic. Like they haven't stopped anything. Just
No,
green
I think
lights all day long. You have to have something that you can rest your optimism on other than it's Baltimore.
well, so
And
so
I
when I think
think they
about
can
it,
beat
right?
Pittsburgh. Like I don't see a single thing that you can say as someone who's telling me that Baltimore can go 10-7. Is like, what do they have that gets them 9 more
I
wins?
think 9 and 8 could win that division. First of all, second of all,
Okay, how did they get 8 more wins based
you
off
know,
the way they're currently playing?
well, one, they just had their bye week. So you got time to reevaluate, look at things, watch film. You got time to build, get some guys healthy, because on top of that, they had injured, they were missing something like 6 or 7 starters off of that. Not that the defense was playing well,
That's what I'm
but
saying.
but
So
they were
like
hurt,
even when they come
and
back, those guys are coming back and they were playing substandard before they went out. That's what I
and
mean. Is like if Fred Warner was coming back for the 49ers this year off of an injury, you're like, okay, he was playing well, got injured, came back. We talk about Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack, the Chargers defense always plays well. He came back. They're playing better. Like I said, we're recording this on Thursday, it's gonna be on Friday, because we got things to do. But they're up 34-10 right now because he's been able to impact the game. The Ravens starters, I
bro,
thought it just was they were playing top tier defenses.
even if they lose this weekend, you get Lamar back, they're winning 4 out of the next 5.
I can't guarantee like they've played Aggies.
They might beat Miami next week, even if Lamar doesn't play.
If they don't get Lamar, they're definitely not beating Chicago.
I think they win
I'm
this
a,
weekend. I'm
I,
picking them this weekend.
yeah, they're
But
not
but
beating
but but they
Chicago.
they beat Miami, they beat Minnesota, they
Miami's
beat
in such a
Cleveland.
terrible mood as them. I don't know if they beat Minnesota.
The Jets might go 0-17.
They
You
could beat
know,
the Jets. I
they
think they
beat
lose both
Cincinnati.
games in Cincinnati.
They could lose to Pittsburgh. They could lose to New England. They lose at Green Bay. I think there's a path for 9-8. Now, of course, with that being said, that's me
But
putting hope into
you're putting in way too much hope.
that
You're
that
putting
they get
hope in
some
a team
players
that's
back.
1-5 to finish the season 8
No,
and 3.
because you know why? Because
Even if you look at the
and
teams on the
I
schedule and
always
say, like, I think they could beat Miami, I think they could beat, like, even if you think that, you would have to then figure out, okay, how can you
I'm not
simultaneously
saying
believe
that
a
they
team?
will. I'm not
No, no, no.
predicting it. Yeah, yeah,
That's what I
yeah, yeah.
mean. Like that's why I'm willing to go on a
I'm
limb
saying that it's
and
possible,
say
because
6-11 is more likely
well,
than
me
9-8 or 10-7,
well,
and
I
that's
told you
easy to
about how
say.
Max Kellerman and I, more so Max Kellerman, but I like his scheduled loss theory, right? So, like when they played Kansas City, and remember you picked Baltimore to win that
I
game.
picked Baltimore, yeah,
Yeah,
and then I saw how poorly they played, and I was
but
like,
it was but to me, going into that game without looking at any stat, without looking at any film or anything, I was just like, yo, both of these teams got season on the line. It's at Arrowhead, and the Chiefs just know how to win. That's why I picked Kansas City to win. I wasn't picking against Baltimore. I was just saying, yo, this is Kansas City. When they played Detroit, right? Detroit's only matchup against a good team at that point was them getting embarrassed by Green Bay. So now just the name Baltimore, because we didn't know Baltimore was this bad yet. You know what I mean?
yes.
So Detroit came into that game with something to prove. So I think those were scheduled losses. The Buffalo thing was just
But
happened.
that's what I mean. The Buffalo thing is more indicative of how the season's going, where your star player is not making the plays. You're relying a lot on Lamar. He took a lot of hits that game to the point where he couldn't run on that third down attempt when they threw that little drag route or whatever to Zay Flowers because something was tightening up on him because you were relying so heavily on him because Derrick Henry fumbled. So
You
it's
know,
like the whole like everything that their whole season, the microcosm of their entire season was that Buffalo game. Derrick Henry being unreliable, Lamar being like limited for whatever reason. He said his calf or something was
it's
tightened up,
it's
and then
so
the defense giving up those points. That's happened to them every single week, no matter who the opponent is. So
it's
I
so
don't see how this
hilarious.
team goes 8-3 over the rest of the season. It's the most unlikely scenario that people
It's
are hoping for.
it's so hilarious. Out of all the things that we talk about every week, it's so hilarious the things that we get into arguments about. Like,
Because we're not fanboys. We really have like real confidence. I'm not gonna just scream and be like, oh, Baltimore. I'm
you
like,
know,
no,
but
I feel like I understand what people are saying when you look at the schedule. I understand when you look at the schedule. The problem is for me, they haven't put anything on a film that says they are going to be prepared enough to beat the Jets.
okay. So your guy, Kyle Monangai, Rutgers own, might be getting the start at running back this week. Sounds like DeAndre Swift might not be able to go. So, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens. You're going with the Bears. So all right, let's run through this.
Bear down.
How much does Atlanta beat the Dolphins by? And
Because it's Atlanta
and hold up, second
13.
question. Do we see Quinn Ewers again this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing Atlanta does well, and I wish the offense would kind of like follow suit. The defense plays aggressively downhill very fast. They don't have any size. Like I say it every single week, but they blitz Caden Ellis off the edge. They bring in James Pearson, Jalen Walker. They have somewhat of a presence in the middle, but I don't think those guys are big enough to eat up blocks. But they blitz well. They play a lot of corners. They play a lot of linebackers, and they're just going to cause hell for Tua, and to the point where he's going to throw. Atlanta's been picking the ball off a lot this year. They've been ball hawking a lot more than usual, and they've been getting a lot more sacks. So I just feel like it's going to be a couple of drives, probably early first half, where it just and Miami does like those guys probably have passion for football, but it's so dysfunctional there, and all of their business is public. So it just
Two
I
of
just
them
don't know.
shut up.
The
The
Tua won't shut
PR
up.
team won't
The
pull
coach
them
looks
in and
like
say,
he's
"Don't
on
say that."
Adderall and cocaine at the same time, or he's selling in the parking lot. It's like the whole thing just looks like a jumbled mess. So
Yeah.
I can see Tua getting yanked pretty early, and Quinn Ewers probably playing the second
Well,
half.
you know me and the Falcons. I think this game gonna be much closer than it needs to be.
Yeah,
So but I'm gonna pick the
they're gonna
Falcons.
be within a possession late, and then Atlanta get the ball back, and then Bijan to break one, and then the final score will be like 31-20 when it should have been 31-3.
So Tampa going down to the House of Horrors, to play the Saints. And of course, Spencer Rattler is a different player at home than he is on the road. Mike Evans out for the season. Godwin's out. Ibuka's not even practicing. Tampa's got offensive line injuries going on. With all that being said, do we trust the Saints to be competitive and win this game potentially?
Listen, I know I have my issues with the Saints, but the game against the Giants where they forced all those turnovers back to back to back to back drives. They were in a dogfight with Buffalo. I think without the weapons, like if he doesn't have Ibuka, then Baker's been off. I think Baker could be off across the middle once or twice, and one of them might end up going back to the house. I think that environment is tough to play in. So without the weapons, I don't know because I don't know if you can just roll out Tez Johnson. I think
Yeah,
Bucky
no
Irvin's
Bucky
still
Irvin
out.
still. Yep.
Bucky Irvin's still
I'm
out.
going with the Saints.
You know what? I'm with you. Just like I said, head over heart. I think they beat them because you need weapons. No matter what level you play football, you can have.
It wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the line injuries because I think that, Baker would still be good enough, if he had time and protection. but Detroit was
But even
eating
with
that
time and
alive.
protection, he's been overthrown. Like I think he led the league in completion percentage last year. I don't think he's anywhere near like the top 10 this year.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of 56% passing games. Like even the game against Atlanta, he was off target. So yeah,
I imagine that we're
taking
both
New
taking the
Orleans.
Colts over the Titans.
Yes, the
Yes.
NFL wants you to take the Colts over the Titans too.
Yeah, Colts averaging 33.1 points per game, 14.5 point spread. Jeffrey Simmons not playing. It looks like no L'Jarius Sneed, no Calvin Ridley. They released Lockett the other day. So it's going down. And then of course Monday Night Football.
The yard
We don't,
sale.
we got Marcus Mariota leading the Commanders into Arrowhead Stadium. When he starts, they do average 30 points, but Kansas City's going to put something on them.
Yeah, Chris Jones going to be all over him.
Yeah, and not only that, but then you got to have Bobby Wagner going out in coverage, from time to time. That ain't a good
against any of those tight ends or
that
any of the
ain't
three
good.
running backs
So I
that
think
catch
this
the
is going
ball,
to
or any of
be
the 5 wide receivers.
right.
It's unfair what Kansas City has.
So I was talking earlier
I don't know
about
how
how
they pay
I
all
thought,
these dudes.
well, I was talking earlier about how I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to have a turn the clock back game. Travis Kelce's going to have a turn the clock back game this week, going across the middle. And then not only that, but Washington is too slow footed on the boundaries, So Lattimore, we already talked about him enough,
God, that man was
if I were
in
them,
hell last week.
Yeah, if I was Washington, I would probably put Sanastrill on the outside, bring him from inside to outside. But I don't think it matters this week because I think whoever gets the ball for Kansas City is just going to outrun whoever Washington throws at them, whether it's side to side, north, south, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? I
think Judy's going to have a big game because he just seems to get open in the middle. I think this is one of those games. I think Rashee Rice, obviously, because they targeted him to get him back.
Basically their running back for lack of, you know what I mean? At a lot of times, the way that they employ him. So you're going to have to bring somebody down, to try to, I don't want to say slide, but you know what I mean?
You stack, if you go trips left and you stack Hollywood, Tyquan Thornton, and Xavier Worthy on one side, and it's the pass protection holds up, you have no idea how many route combinations Andy Reid probably has set up for that kind of speed. You can't cover it all. So I'm predicting. I got Mahomes throwing like 3 touchdowns, a couple of bombs.
I'm gonna give my guys a little credit. I think we covered the 11.5. You know what I mean? But it's going to be one of those games that Kansas City was never in danger of losing.
Is Debo playing?
It's up in the air.
How you getting points?
You know what I'm saying? Hey, man. I told
Kansas
you,
City,
Marcus Mariota puts the points up.
Yeah, but he put the points up. I think against Atlanta they had, I believe Debo played. Luke McCaffrey,
I think one of the
good
two.
game.
I think one of the two will play, but we'll see. So of course, that's your NFL picks for the week. So of course, it's one of my favorite times of the week. It wasn't a great week last week at all. It was probably my worst week all season long, but we're still going to try to give this absurd alert thing a try one more again. So here we go, taking it from the top. You know what I'm saying? Give me Mississippi State plus 6.5 against Texas. Give me Minnesota plus 9.5 at Iowa. And this is the Floyd of Rosedale. And remember, last time they met in Kinnick Stadium, it was the Cooper DeJean game where did he call a fair catch? Did he not call a fair catch? And they took the punt return away that would have won the game. 7 out of the last 10 in this series are one-score games, including the last 5 in Kinnick Stadium. Give me Houston plus 7 at Arizona State, only because Hunter Tyson can't go. Give me Northwestern plus 7.5 at Nebraska. And give me Utah State Bronco Mendenhall on the money line against New Mexico. Some other games that I got my eye on, but I'm not necessarily making an official pick. SMU, 3.5 point favorites at Wake Forest. SMU has not lost an ACC game since they joined the conference. Overall, going back to when they were in the American, they've won 20 straight conference games. Give me Toledo and Wazoo over 46.5. And where's that game, Mr. Logical?
The Palouse.
Out at the Palouse. You know what I'm saying? Give me Tennessee covering the 7.5 against Kentucky. And then Memphis, we got to see if their starting quarterback's going to go. But I like the over USF and Memphis 62.5. So let's get right back to it. So I remember the first time I was late to the party because I'm not a Drake fan, right? So I was late to the party. Like probably during the Kendrick beef is when I first heard first person shooter. And then, J. Cole was like,
I don't think I still heard it.
Me looking at Drake as the Spider-Man meme. So that's what we got going on down in Nashville. We got Missouri coming in to play top 10 Vanderbilt. These two teams are mirror images of each other from the way that they play down to the type of quarterbacks that they have, down to the fact that teams are going to be after both of their head coaches this season. Mr. Logical, is it possible for Vanderbilt to have a trap game? Because they played LSU last week. They come down here to.
You gotta have like a track record of just sustained excellence to get trapped.
I know, but stay with me. You know what I'm saying? They got the big win against LSU last week. They got Mizzou coming in this week. And then they come down here to play the Longhorns next week.
I would call it a trap game if, like I said, if they had like sustained success. We talk about it with like teams like Bama. We talk about the NFL. And like Buffalo has like they got an easy game with Miami, and then they got Kansas City the week after that. Like, are you overlooking them? And then you blow this game to Miami. But that's because you kind of expect Buffalo to win. I don't think people are expecting Vandy to win. So I think even a loss, it wouldn't feel like, oh, they were looking ahead. It just was like, oh, it's just their team. They made a good run, like Indiana did over the last couple of years. I think people just look at it like, oh, they're like, okay, they just happen to lose a game, granted at home, but it's to another SEC school. So yeah, I wouldn't put like too much stock into it. Like I said, the win probability right now on ESPN.com, Vandy's 57, Missouri 43. That's not like a stretch. That's essentially, a toss-up. It's a possession here, possession there. But I think they probably got the advantage because it's home, and college football home field advantage is probably second to none.
I'm taking Missouri. They got A&M coming in next week. The only thing that does give me a reason to pause here is that this is Missouri's second road game of the season, and it's back-to-back coming off of playing at Jordan-Hare last week where it took overtime for them to escape Auburn. Since SEC play has started, all preseason, I was all over Ahmad Hardy. Pause. Talking about how he took over the Sun Belt last year and how he was going to be a star this year, and it looked like he was when the season started. And then ever since SEC play has started, that's got shut down. And, saying like at this point, he's come back to earth. But the problem is that Bo Pribula, Missouri's quarterback, might be on Mars because we found out real quick that he can't throw. So Diego Pavia at least gives you that threat. I just like Missouri's defense. But also, as I look at this, Vanderbilt's defense, 26th against the run. So it's going to be tough sledding. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. But I'm going to take Missouri to get out of there with the win.
I'm going to go with the home team just because when it's a coin flip and they're so evenly matched, I'm going to give the nod to home field advantage. I know I did that earlier when it was Oregon, Penn State, and I was kind of let down. But for the most part, it's probably a pretty good bet.
So here's a question.
We'll talk about that later.
Here's a question for your thoughts. So I mentioned both of these coaches are probably going to get people knocking down their door. So Clark Lee, Vanderbilt's head coach, went to Vanderbilt. So he's at least alumni. Might be a little harder to get him out of Vanderbilt than you would think just because he has ties there. Eli Drinkowicz, Missouri's coach, is going to be getting all these calls. Do you think that if you're a head coach like Eli Drinkowitz, you feel a certain pressure? Like, hey, like Florida might call me. I got to go out here and run up the score, or I got to go, like we can't lose this game. Do you think there's a certain added pressure there?
I I would hope not, and I think if that person, if he's if he's talking to his representatives or like his management, this is the time for him to just play or coach his team and put himself in position for extensions, bonuses, add-on restructures, whatever the case may be, because so many prominent programs are going to be calling schools for coaches.
Right.
So you coach your way, you do what you've been doing, you focus on the Missouri Tigers
And it'll work
because
out.
we know all the dominoes because like the LSU Tigers might have an opening if Brian Kelly wants to go and teach some other cats the Nittany Lions instead of the LSU Tigers, because I think that's, to me, that makes sense, because I think Penn State needs, like, they need an adult in the room because they have to salvage. They have a successful program. They're not starting over. So they need
Yeah.
somebody seasoned in recruiting. They need someone who's already been in living rooms of 4 and 5 star guys, who already has that kind of cachet, who could probably pull a few of the guys from LSU to Penn State and kind of keep it going. So I think a lot of other jobs are like good jobs are going to open up as well. So I think if you coach your way, you'll get an opportunity to renegotiate with the school, show a commitment to the school, and then subsequently maybe pluck some of these guys from the transfer portal because you have, established credibility and you have stability at the position.
Okay. So then, of course, we got another big one in the SEC over in Norman, Oklahoma, where another Gator potential coach, Lane Kiffin, is bringing Ole Miss in there. And, of course, Lane Kiffin being Lane Kiffin, he made the comment last week about Brett Venable stealing signs and all this kind of stuff like that. He's bringing Trinidad Chambliss in there, fresh off the loss to Georgia, where he represented himself very well. But Oklahoma's defense is a whole different beast, So are we trusting Lane Kiffin to go into Norman and get a win?
Are you a different animal or the same beast? What does that mean, Kobe Bryant? It's funny. That's just funny shit. It's funny as commercial. Um, I like Lane. I don't. The Lane Kiffin to Florida thing doesn't make as much sense to me as the pundits who say it on TV, and I'm starting to feel like they say it on TV just to have a conversation about it, because it doesn't make any sense. If I'm Lane Kiffin, it doesn't make any sense for me to go to Ole Miss. I can just get the same dudes from Florida to come to Ole Miss.
Well, I think
Like,
it's the whole personality thing, like you
his
were talking
personality
about.
is
No, I
working
know,
just fine in Ole
but he's
Miss.
also a big Steve Spurrier guy. He wears the visor and everything. I think they're just putting things together.
I think they're putting things together because it just sounds better. But Ole Miss has real money. They'll take care of Lane, and Lane's. I would stay there personally, but
Okay.
that's just me. Um, I like what they're doing in Ole Miss. Brett Venables finally got this defense figured out, because we talked about the back in the Big 12 days where basically it was like the first to 40 was going to win. He's really got him tightened up. Mateer, I don't know what his status is,
He looked good
but
against the Gamecocks last week.
yeah.
He
So
spit it
if
all over Cocktober. Spit on that thing.
pause, pause. Uh, yeah, I like so. Man, Lane Kiffin is one of those coaches where like 9-3 is what you want. 12-0, you will love 12-0, but you're gonna get a very exciting 9-3. But I think he gets one of those 9 wins this week against Oklahoma.
I
For
think
some reason,
that
he just doesn't really seem to break through. But that, like I said, as teams kind of like move around, and you get new coaches in, guys retiring, guys sick of dealing with NIL. Like I said, I think he's one of those coaches that can kind of wait it out, because I believe he has, he has a foot in both sides of this. So, but as of right now, Lane Kiffin, I'm gonna give you a nod. Go ahead and beat the Boomers Sooners and talk your shit.
So I think Oklahoma has the best defense in the country, not named Ohio State. And especially I think that keeps Ole Miss unbalanced. And Brent Venables going up against, he's a young quarterback, but he's experienced, right? He won a national title in Division 3 last year or Division 2 last year. So, he comes with talent, but he's playing against SEC speed now, and we're starting to see as the season goes on that there's a catch-up game, if you will. Like, I guess it's almost like, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but like going from college to the NFL, that difference in speed, that difference in philosophy, I think we're starting to see that now, where he took the world by storm, Jeremy Lin style, and now it's all coming back to earth, So I think that Lane Kiffin, with his mouth again, put the target on his team. You know what I mean? Brent Venables stealing signs. I think Oklahoma's going to come out and try to make a statement. Now, with that being said, I do think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a close game. I think I saw the spread at 5.5. Close game. I don't know if Oklahoma covers the spread, but I think they get the win. And then, of course, the big one down in Death Valley as we continue SEC all day. LSU, as Mr. Logical said earlier, FAFO, Brian Kelly. Said the Aggies are coming through 7-0. I said it the other day. If the Aggies win this game, I'm putting them in Atlanta. They still got Missouri and Texas left, but they could probably lose both of those games and still get to the SEC championship game. But if they win this one, I don't think they're going to lose both of those games. So something's got to give.
Yeah.
Mr. Logical. Can Texas A&M win at LSU for the first time since they joined the SEC back in 2012?
So you put it like that. It makes it like they don't play there every year. It's not like the NFL where you get
every other year at least.
Every other year. So we'll call that 6, 7 opportunities.
Well, yeah, and then before that, they used to play a lot. They won there in 1994. So technically 1994 is the last time that A&M won there.
Yeah, so damn, it was a long time ago. I was 13. I mean, I understand the records. Like Brian Kelly's 17-1 in night games in LSU. But this doesn't feel like the same LSU team. I like Texas A&M. Like I said, I want to watch that game against Notre Dame. I thought the young quarterback played well. Being 7-0, one of the top ranked teams in the country. You play with a little swag, I think they can pull the win out. Because if you're going to get LSU, this is your year to get them. So, like I said, I'm pretty sure that Brian Kelly not being here next year stuff. Like I'm saying, he's going to Penn State, but I imagine people in Baton Rouge and that area are thinking like, is this guy really the guy? Is this the guy to get us over the hump, or is he just like a guy that kind of sets up these dominoes but never really knocks them down?
So, if America is not familiar, I'm gonna put you on the game. Texas A&M has a guy by the name of Cassius Howell. He's going to be all up in LSU's backfield on Saturday night. It sounds like it's going to be rain. And I hate symbology and I hate my memory. Because when I think of rain, I think of that one loss that LSU does have at night with Brian Kelly when Alabama walked in there last year and put a 42-13 on them. That should never happen with Garrett Nussmeier as your quarterback. LSU's left tackle is out, so that's sign number one. Whit Weeks is doubtful. He's in a walking boot. That's another sign because LSU tends to look like Pittsburgh without J.J. Watt when he doesn't play.
Yeah.
There's that type of effect. And then when I also look at it, we talk about
energy when your top defensive player is out there. Like it just looks different.
Yeah.
Like people floated the ball differently.
Yeah.
People floated the ball differently. The blocking's different. It's a lot of, that guy's fighting off double teams. or they're slanting the offense to try to get to them, and then other people
Yeah.
are making plays. It's something different when you have your playmakers out there defensively that can just really change the game.
So the home team has won 8 straight in this series. Whoever's at home, so that points LSU. Texas A&M's running back Le'Veon Moss is out, but they still got Reuben Owens. But this is the thing that I see, because LSU this year, their defense has been like lights out. But I don't know if they've played a team that has the weapons that A&M has had. Clemson had weapons, but their best receiver went down very early in that game. But, A&M's coming in there with Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion. They got the ammo, and I think they're going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or anything. I don't want to make it sound like that. LSU is going to be close just because it is Death Valley at night. So I think it is going to be a close game. I just think A&M is going to make one more play. And here's another note for you, Mr. Logical. LSU played a FCS team this year. They put up 56 points. The rest of their games was against FBS teams, and they haven't scored more than 24. So
Yeah, I was literally about to make that note. Like
okay,
yeah.
so if I'm A&M, and I can get to 24, I feel real good about my chances.
Yes, a race to 24.
Yeah, because now I'm putting the pressure on Nussmeier without that left tackle. I don't think Nussmeier's been healthy all year. I think he got hurt in training camp, and I think they kept it under wraps. But then during the season, one of my big concerns coming in was their offensive line. I don't have any reason to not be concerned about that offensive line. And he's been getting like banged around. So I think that he's just battered and bruised.
Not scoring 30 points. And again, it's SEC, but it's a lot of SEC schools still scoring 30 points at least a couple of times.
Hey, Georgia put up 42 at Tennessee. Bama put up, they had a pick 6, but they put up 37 last week, so still 30 without the pick 6.
Yeah. Tennessee, that was an overtime, so I think the score was 44, 41. So it was like you can still put up points. And like I said, I don't know. It just feels like
A&M put up 41 at Notre Dame.
Exactly. So I just think like some there's something brewing in LSU. Like I said, that Brian Kelly, the Penn State thing. When it happens, make sure we clip this and send up.
Yeah.
I think that phone call has been made.
All right. So real quick, let's go around the nation real quick. A couple of things real quick. So Mr. Logical, we were having a conversation off air about the Badgers. I'm going to give you this real quick. Pause. So here you go. The last 2 games, they've been outscored 71-0. They lost to Iowa and Ohio State. This season, they've played 7 games. They've scored 44 points total in 7 games.
How are people? So people are getting fired.
Yes, Luke Fickell's probably gone at the end of the year. They haven't done it yet.
6 points a game.
And then
You're
they
averaging 6 points a game.
Yeah, and then they got they go to Autzen this week. We talked about that 34.5 point underdog. Their first half team total over under is 2.5. So they could get a safety, and you could still win the bet. You know what I'm saying?
6 points a game at that level D1 Big Ten school is unacceptable.
Yeah,
That's like I don't care what your offensive scheme is. You have to have what you got like 83 players on scholarship. You have to have someone who can score touchdowns on that roster.
They did have some quarterback injuries.
We could just go Wildcat.
So here you go.
You could go Wildcat with wide receivers and get a touchdown. All you need is a couple of missed tackles.
Hold on. Let me back up. Up. The 44 points is in their losses. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
So they started off the season with a 17-0 win against Miami of Ohio. They beat Middle Tennessee 42-10, who's probably going to fire Derek Mason at the end of the year. They lost to Bama 38-14, Maryland at home 27-10. They lost at Michigan 24-10. They got blanked at home back-to-back by Iowa and Ohio State. So I guess if you add that together, they got 86 points on the season. If you add that and then 17, so
It's
103
it's
points. 103
so
points on
103
7 games.
divided by 8
By 7.
by 7. Was that 16?
So 14.7.
So 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. There you go.
You should be doing better than that.
So that's the Wisconsin Badgers this year. Shout out to Delaware. They won again last night, 4-3 on the year, their first year in FBS, 2-2 in conference. But the last thing that I wanted to point out here, Mr. Logical, this is kind of funny to me, so I hope you find it funny too. So I am picking the Kansas Jayhawks to beat Kansas State. Why is that significant? It's not, but I just wanted to share that Kansas State has beat Kansas 16 straight times headed into this game this weekend.
Okay.
With that being said, Kansas still leads the all-time series by 11 games.
You had big plans for Kansas State.
I did.
They played that little murky game in Ireland on a random
and it
day of the
all
week.
fell apart. People going to be calling for their coach's job. I don't think they should fire him, but he should definitely start next year on the hot seat, but okay. Speaking of hot seats, there is word on the street that Gilbert Arenas is out here snitching.
Can't do it. I can't believe it. A couple of things.
Shout out to Dallas Mike for giving me that, because I didn't even think about that when I saw this story.
Oh, you didn't see? I sent you the picture.
Well, no, that was later. Lunch. That was later. No, this morning.
So he said it before.
When we first found out that they got arrested, I had sent him the Chauncey Billups thing, and then he replied to me, "Gilbert out here snitching," and I hadn't even thought of that yet because it was all so fresh and breaking that my brain didn't even make it there yet. I'm sure I would have got there, but he definitely brought it up first. And
yeah.
So what's going on, Mr. Logical?
Gilbert went to his podcast eating a bag lunch that says informant lunch.
I did see that.
So I doubt that that's the case, mainly because I got a couple degrees on the wall over here. You can't really see them, but I hung them back up. One's in criminal justice. And one year, one of my undergrad classes, I did a paper on prohibition and how it basically funded the current mafia format that we see across the country now.
Okay.
So during prohibition, the mob controlled the alcohol. They were making, like, some of the henchmen, like the right-hand man, like some of the runners, they were making the equivalent of like $750,000, $1 million a year. Like, if you count it for inflation.
Money.
Yeah. So these guys were making money hand over fist. And these were like the runners. The runners were making that kind of money. So the overall mafia was getting their hands on everything, controlling stuff. So if No Chill Gil really did snitch on Chauncey Billups, I guess Chauncey Billups is being accused of, allegedly, he would go find, they would use his face as a celebrity athlete to talk to people and get them to come play poker, and the whole system was rigged against this person. Like
X-ray
vision, cards,
marked
cards, glasses where you can see like the markings on them, all kinds of stuff. It's a lot like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. If you ever see that movie, with like they had the rigged poker game and they're sending signals. If he did, he interrupted mafia money. He's too loud and obnoxious to go into hiding. So if he did actually rat out these people that caused this, that was part of this investigation, he's not making it.
Well, they always, it's always the bigger
so
fish,
I don't
right?
think he did it. Yeah, I don't think he did. Because like you can't be that. You're not gonna go. You're not gonna just be like. You're not gonna, like they say, the kids say, you're not gonna play in the mob's face,
right? And
he'll play it up for his podcast, but yeah.
So so I was thinking about this, and the first thing that came to my mind was the Boston College point shaving in the late 70s. That was the first thing that came to my mind. I think it was 1978. There were Boston College players that were basically throwing games, basketball players.
Yes.
So then, of course, fast forward, I thought about the Lakers.
Game 6. Tim
Game
Donaghy.
7. No, before that. Game 7. The phantom call that Kareem got against Bill Laimbeer in the NBA Finals. That's the whole story arc of why I hate the Lakers. Because I was a big Isaiah Thomas fan, and that was the first NBA Finals I ever watched. And it was, even as a little kid, I was like, that's not a foul. I was probably 7 years old. That's not a foul.
Yeah.
And I started my hatred for the refs cheat for the Lakers. So then Tim Donaghy came along. You know, I saw Kobe Bryant on an inbound pass, elbow Mike Bibby, made him bleed, and stole the ball. He got free throws, and it was like, something's afoot here. So the Tim Donaghy thing, you know, you gave me the documentary to watch and everything last year.
Yes.
So, you know, so on and so forth. So I've
Still
always
was
said,
lying. He was lying his ass off. Even in the documentary, he was lying to himself. He's like, I didn't fix games. I just called fouls. So I'm like, what do you think? Like,
what do you
people
think
get
that
points
is?
from that.
Yeah.
Like, people come off the floor, they can't score points, and then other people score.
I mean,
like,
he
that's
kicked
what you were
Rasheed
doing
Wallace out of a game 7 for staring at him.
for looking at him.
Yeah. And you know, and so when I think about this, you know, and I know Mike and Lethal, you know, I always had this conversation with them. I don't think that the leagues are rigged. I think that there's just people
that
within those
influence the
leagues
outcome. Yeah.
that do these things. But I don't think Adam Silver or Roger Goodell is sitting somewhere giving out instructions of
There's no script. Like,
yeah,
that's like, it's the
yeah.
league. The league isn't rigged. It's just, I mean, I don't know how long we have to just keep fighting this. Just follow the money. If it's making money, there's gonna be a level of corruptibility to it, no matter what it is.
And I mean,
Whether
it's a
you're trying to
business,
build an
right?
apartment building, or you're trying to get a park, or you're trying to get a bid to get your t-shirt company to make all the t-shirts for the schools,
Well, at the
homecoming
end of the
dances,
day,
whatever
these
it
are
is, there's
businesses.
gonna be some
These are
nefarious activity.
businesses I mean, they are entertainment, they are sports, they're businesses. If I was exec at TNT, NBC, ESPN, or a part of the NBA league office, I want the Lakers in the championship every year. You know what I'm saying? I want the Knicks in the championship. You know, we talked about this. Why we ain't never get a Giants-Jets Super Bowl? You know what I mean? Like those type
Yeah.
of things. That's what I would want if I was in those positions. But bringing it back down to these guys, you know, we've had Jonte Porter, you know, Michael Porter's brother. You know, he's in jail right now, you know, for, I think it was something along messing up his prize picks. Like, you know, he would fake injuries or, you know,
Yeah,
tell
he'd
people.
have people bet big on his unders, play 3 or 4 minutes and claim an illness. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Literally tonight in my class, my crisis communication class, one of the students' project was on, he had to present today, was on, Jonte Murray, or
Jonte Porter,
yeah,
yeah.
Jonte Porter. And he was like, it's funny because we had this other breaking news come out earlier today. So it's odd because the amount of money you can make from the sports gambling compared to what these NBA contracts are. In the case of Porter, granted, I know it's his brother's contract, but his brother's contract was close to 200 million, I believe, if not more than 200. That's all in the family money. I know it's your brother's earning, but it's like, you're not going to go hungry if your NBA career fizzles out because your brother's literally making $200 million. Then with Scary Terry, he was making 320, I think he was making like $25 million or something like that. And rumor has it, allegedly, he got $200,000 for his involvement in this game in March of 2023 or whatever date they deemed that he was, point shaving around here, giving out this confidential information. He was getting paid $325,000 a game. And I know taxes and everything come out, but it's like, dog, you getting $325,000. just to show up. You could just fake the injury and sit there and still get your 325. Like
You talking about
you don't
Rozier?
need. Yeah.
Well, he was
I think.
playing in Miami, so like you know what I'm saying. Like, there's no state tax.
Yeah. So yeah, you're getting all this money, and you're literally, if you were gambling your $50,000 a game salary and then you were turning in 200,000, I'd understand the greed aspect of it. Like you wanted more than what you were getting. But I don't understand how are you rolling a dice to get $125,000 less than you're gonna get without the guilt. Guilt free, you're 325,000. What is
Well,
500,000 when you're getting another $325,000 the next game?
this wouldn't be an NBA story if it didn't invoke the name LeBron James. Not that he was involved in that way, but Damon Jones, who he's been close with, assistant NBA coach.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, there was a game where they were going to play the Milwaukee Bucks, and he had got some insight that LeBron wasn't going to play that night, so he made the calls. Hey, bet on Milwaukee, and so he's been named and potentially charged in this as well. So it makes me wonder, how deep does it go? You know what I mean? And it just shows that, because if you would have told me, hey, think of people that could be involved in a situation like this, I would have probably named about 200 names before I would have even thought Chauncey Billups. I would have never said Chauncey Billups.
I like playing poker. Like it's like especially Texas Hold'em. Um, I can only imagine that the money was so, like they were getting millionaire fanboys to come play poker.
Right.
My thing is like the involvement. Like I remember talking to a young airman that was getting out when I was at Hill, and he was talking about working for Border Patrol. And I was like, "Yo, cartel give you a pack you can bring across the border." He was like, "Nope." He was like, I mean, obviously no, but he was like, "What happens is once you do one thing for them, they're like, all right, we own you,
Yeah.
and we'll kill your family
They
if you
can
don't
always
keep doing it."
blackmail you. They can always threaten you. Yeah.
They're like, well, if you don't keep letting this opening this gate, we're going to kill your family.
Well, it's like the drug
So
game, right? It's like you blood in, blood out.
yeah, so do you get involved, and now you can't get out?
Right.
I don't think they said they mentioned LeBron's name. They just said a prominent player
Well, yeah,
wasn't
they
gonna
had it
play.
listed as player 3 and player 4, but the way that they worded it was, it's a superstar that Damon Jones has been a teammate with for a long time, and so people
Yeah.
deduced that it was
But
LeBron,
once again, it's the
and that player 4 was Anthony Davis.
I think the internet has fooled people into thinking the world is not real outside. It's like if Porter, who never plays, all of a sudden, some guy in Toronto or wherever drops $25,000 on his under, and the point is 6, and then he just leaves the game with an eye issue or a stomach issue. Like you're an NBA player, you worked hard to make the NBA, and you gonna let a stomach bug keep you out of a game when you're a bench player and they're trying to get you on the floor at the same time someone's betting $70,000 on your under. It's so easy to find. Like I was personally, not personally, but like personally involved. I had a conversation with an FBI agent who was investigating an embezzlement case. And what she says that normally it takes like 2 years to collect enough evidence to bring it to a grand jury, call witnesses, so forth and so on. She was like, these guys were so sloppy, we got it in 9 months. Because like they stole the money from the bank and then put it into the brother's business, and they had the same last name. So it was like you took the money straight from the bank and just gave it to your brother's business, and then somebody else bought a house, and then somebody else bought like a big ass truck. It's like you didn't even rinse the money. They literally just took it from the bank and just moved it. It was like it was
Just went
so
on a
easy to
spree.
track. Once, like you
Yeah.
said, once the bank called us and was like, "Hey, we think we've been defrauded," it was like, "All right, let's follow the money." And it was like, it went across the street. Let's go get these people. That's what this is. Like $50,000 on Porter anytime for any bet when it's not Michael Porter Jr. is sketchy.
So I figure, and of course, we were talking about a month ago, maybe a month and a half. Pablo Torre came out with his Kawhi Leonard story.
Correct.
So now, like, as this stuff unfolds, as I sit back, I'm like, there's got to be a owner involved somewhat. If all this is true, there's got to be a owner that has been playing along with it.
This is what I think is more likely.
Okay.
Sports and rap is so synonymous. We want to be them, they want to be us. I think there's probably a lot more celebrities involved in these kind of spaces. I'm just speculating, allegedly, because they are so close. They
Right.
are sitting courtside. Because I often think, how does that person have the money for courtside seats, Knicks, Celtics on a Friday night? I'm like,
Mhm.
I know they're making music, but it's like, how are you there?
You got to pay engineers, lawyers,
Yeah, like how are you getting
studio
these
time.
seats? Like, how are you getting these seats when I don't know if you're on tour?
Well, I would
So
think a
like
lot of
I think
times
it's a
they're
lot
being
of I think it's
sponsored
probably a
or
lot of
something.
those kind of like nefarious relationships that are kind of evolved around money.
Well, I
And
would think a lot of times you're probably being sponsored or something. Like I know Joe Budden goes to a lot of Knicks games, so I would just imagine
but does
that.
he sit courtside, Knicks, Lakers, LeBron's last game in the Garden? You think regular money is gonna get you that seat? Not like I'm talking about like rapper money, not like I got a shoe deal with Jordan like Travis Scott because he might
Yeah.
have like a big sum of money, but it's
Oh, and
like you're just a regular like Cassidy. Like Cassidy's a good artist, but if Cassidy's sitting courtside, Knicks Sixers at Madison Square Garden, it's like where do you get that kind of money? Like you haven't really sold much recently. Like where you get like how you getting these kind of connections? And I think a lot of it is probably through that. Like because that's how you get these when people with loose money go and play in these crazy kind of things, these poker games where it's like $100,000 buy-in and it's in the back of some crazy nice hotel or something like that. You see Molly's game with Idris Elba and Jessica Chastain, stuff like that. It was Toby Maguire's at that game. A lot of professional athletes. She changed the names in the story, but when the
right.
stories came out, it was a lot of celebrities who like this is there's a certain level of like excitement that you and I have. Like I'm excited for my weekend. My son's football game. I'm going to Atlantic City. I'm gonna get a nice steak. That's my excitement. If somebody had just paid me $1 million to post something on Instagram today, my weekend, the funds for my weekend and the funds for my excitement, it's gonna be a little different. And I think that's probably the space. And if people talk, it'll probably, if you peel back the onion, it's probably gonna be a lot of names, very like akin to that movie Molly's Game. But it's gonna keep happening. As long as there's sports, entertainment, and gambling, it's gonna happen. We saw the post today that now they're gonna let college players and employees bet on pro sports. So the same day that the FBI arrests a bunch of people, they allowed more things. ESPN had an ESPN bet advertisement on the ticker when Get Up was talking about
Yeah,
people
they
getting
took it
arrested,
down.
and then they just grayed it out subtly. It's like
Yeah, so you don't think that these college personnel, they're going to find ways to bet on college games too? Like I don't like. There's got to be like something in place.
I saw a story in Florida where they were betting on youth football games. As long as it's competition and it's,
Well, we just saw what was it?
you can
last
bet on
season?
table tennis.
Oh,
You
we
can
just
pull up DraftKings right now and bet on Russian table tennis.
Well, we just saw last season, Iowa and Iowa State, baseball players and a couple of football players got busted for something similar to this, where they were betting on their games and all that kind of stuff like that. And of course, Pete Rose goes without saying. So, I just wonder, if
I want to know
I
all
wonder what's the
34
biggest
names.
name we're going to hear. That's what I wonder. What's the
I
biggest
want to
name?
know why only, if this is a mob thing, how come the 3 black dudes' names we heard? That's what I want to know.
That's the same question Gilbert asked. But you know why? Probably because we know those names. They could
I
say
don't
the
care.
monsters'
Say
names,
the
and we
rest.
ain't gonna know who
Say
they
their
are.
names too.
You don't want to. You know why they don't say the mobsters' names? Because of what you just said 5 minutes ago. I want his dog.
Yeah, so
that's why they not saying those names. You know what I mean? But side note, before we get out of here, how about that guy Shea Gilgeous with the 55 tonight?
he put up 55. I was too
Yeah.
busy watching Carson Wentz just
double
give the
overtime.
ball back to.
Yeah, double overtime win in the NBA Finals rematch. At Indiana.
He need to start closing these games out. They played a double overtime game
against
the
Houston.
night before.
Yeah. And then we got Warriors and Nuggets are on right now. I got 94-91 Warriors with about 30 seconds left in the third quarter. So,
Jesus Christ. Any defense being played?
Nah, man.
Remember NBA Finals game was
the Warriors are
80.
old and the Nuggets are still trying to figure it out.
They're like, yeah, we're not playing any defense.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But shout out to y'all, on TikTok, making us feel good about ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We love y'all so much. You know what I'm saying? This will be live, of course, tomorrow night. But hey, enjoy your football. If you're going to gamble, do it smartly. Don't get involved with the mob.
Exactly. Just go to the casino.
Yes, go to the casino, says the one and only, the world-renowned, the world-famous, cool, calm, and collected. Born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem. He might have been known to get into a hockey fight or two. You know what I'm saying? He is Mr. Logical. And then, of course, down here in the Alamo, and actually, I just found out, because you know how bad boxing is, Mr. Logical. I just found out tonight that Cruz and Lamont Roach are fighting down here in San Antonio on December 6th. How about that? But I am here in the Alamo, your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Watch out, because Roach beat Tank, and he might beat you too, Pitbull. I am 2-5. This is Sports Reports is Ordered. We'll be back on Tuesday with reaction, little bit of around the association maybe.
Find out who else is getting arrested.
Yes, we'll have some World Series games in the books by then. So, we'll be talking a little bit about everything. Best time of the year. Sports Reports is Ordered. Hey! Love y'all.
Sports Reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports Reports.